please welcome Mayor Jimmy Melton.
Well, thank you, and I appreciate y'all having me again. To start this out, this I guess you call this speech here or speaking here today is on the state of the city. I want you to know that I feel extremely fortunate that this is the first year of my 5th term. And I've never had to give a bad state of the city. And I hope I never have to. So having said that, I'm going to start out. I know all of you got a whole bunch of questions you probably want to ask me about what's happening around the city. So I'm going to start out with the financial part of this thing for the city and let you know that your city is doing well financially. We're watching, as we have been since 2007, the economy, and it's been slowly but surely starting to come back. We're having more housing starts than normal, and I know the utilities is glad to see that, where they could sell some more gas. But that is slow as well, but probably better than most cities right now. So we are moving in the right direction. Our revenue, I guess, for the city, as we watch it, right now, in our sales tax part of the revenue, that represents a little more than 65% of our entire budget. As you can see, sales tax plays a big part and in our city and our growth, and it also is very vulnerable to the economy as it swings up and down. So we started this year out like a bang. We're doing well for the first 4 or 5 months, and then about March or April, we saw a slight decline. Today, at the end of the month of June, I'll say, we haven't got our July numbers yet. But we stand about, I think it's $64,000. It might sound like a lot of money to you, but in a $25 million budget, that's not really a lot of money. But that's $64,000 less than what we collected this time last year. So we watch month to month, and we hope that we have predicted our revenues, because that's what we base our expenditures on. Now, a couple of years ago, we passed a 1-cent tax that was strictly for capital projects. And today, we're real fortunate that we've maintained and we have budgeted for this year that would generate $3.4 million. Okay. Right now, today, we've haven't expended but about $200,000 of that. But as you can see throughout the city, all the paving that's being done and different one-time projects, as we call them, capital projects, that figure will be impacted between now and October 1, which ends this fiscal year. But what's good about that is that money reoccurs based on the economy. And we hope that we continue to maintain a positive in that account for the sales tax portion of it. Now, overall for the entire city, we're probably, I think, $165,000 total that we're having to watch and make sure that we get to October, that we hope we're going to be in the black instead of being in the red. But since we have that cushion of that new 1 penny, then it's obvious we're going to end the year with a surplus. Now on the expenditure side for the city, at the beginning of July, our budget for this year, we should expend no more than 83 1/3% of that entire budget for general fund, which is a little over $25 million. right now today, we haven't expended but like 75% of it. So we're doing very well in controlling our expenditures, mainly because we don't know from month to month how the sales tax is going to affect us. So we have to be very watchful of how we expend those dollars. Now we have problems that jump up from time to time, like Mr. Knight's collapsed pipe over there on. And the county won't do nothing about it, but he's tried hard to get them to do it. But there's always been questions.
25,000.
So the county wants us to take control of Chaffin Mountain Road and be responsible for it from now till eternity for 25 grand. I don't think we're going to do that. Okay?
I have rebuttal time.
But Joe does an outstanding job representing us at the county, and I talk to him all the time, and he was there. We solved the problem. We couldn't take the issue that it's nobody's problem. We had to fix it because that's our tax base up and down that road. Not only does it create tax base for the city, it creates tax base for the county as well. So financially for the city, we're doing extremely well. And I hope the sales tax will at least remain in the positive and not dip below. But I want you to rest assured that you understand that we watch this from a day-to-day to monthly basis to make sure that we can anticipate if we have a drop, that we can make up slack in other areas, not to expend more than we take in. And that's the key, I think, for running government. So my hat's off to my council. They work hard in trying to help balance this ball that we're doing through this economy. And I can tell you, we are doing fairly well out here, economy-wise. It appears that everybody's eating well. We've got more people buying houses, and that's a good sign. But we have to be ever vigilant in watching those finances. Now, that's about it for the financial part for the city. We are solid. We have an extremely good credit rating, and as always, we're sitting here trying to decide what to do to help our city move forward, especially with our school system and other different departments within the city. You'll see a lot of paving going on. The only thing I regret is when the news reported we were paving these big subdivision areas that really needed the paving. They didn't put over here the little different projects that we got ongoing. And so everybody that lives on Hewitt Street or lives on Medic Lane Court or in another part of the city that didn't see theirs listed, they automatically assumed that we weren't going to take care of their street. So this capital project money was specifically put in there so we could start taking care of our infrastructure. But it's going to take time as we collect and do it from year to year. Now, trying to remember what else I need to touch on that will probably create some questions. Dr. Neal, as I read in the paper this morning, of course I had to read the paper before I come here so I know what's going on. But as you can see, the school is very active in trying to plan for the future and trying to determine what we've got to have down the road with our what we perceive to be more growth and have more kids. Today, you correct if I'm wrong, somewhere between 4,100 and 4,200 is the number of students that we house now in the entire school system. So yes, as the economy comes back and the housing comes back, then we're going to have more and more kids, and we have to plan for that. So we won't have to read the paper anymore and it says we got to have one more portable to paint. So that's the goal is for the entire city. You got to have a safe city. You got to be able to take care of public safety. You got to have an outstanding school system, which we do. Then you have to have the public works, the library, all the other departments that make a city function and make people want to move here and live here in Trussville. So I hope we continue to further that, and I think we will. And I will, before I go to putting out the questions, I know you probably got some. I will say one thing. Last time I spoke, I wasn't able to speak on CNG, okay? So I'm going to just touch on that because I've got the chairman of our utilities board and the vice chairman and their right-hand man sitting behind him over there. And they do the city a great service with our utilities board, which covers not only city of Trussville, but provides service in Clay, the Pinson area, up in Argo, Margaret, in the upper part of the East Jefferson County. So, we have a CNG station that I've been preaching for some time that they were very instrumental in making happen. And if you hadn't noticed, it's $1.55 a gallon. So if you pull up to the Chevron at Deerfoot and you're in an SUV and you fill up for $100, I can assure you our police department that's filling up a similar SUV is paying much, much less. So, and the other thing, I don't want to promote any particular cars, but I'm going to tell you that the infrastructure is slowly but surely coming about in the southeastern United States as you move north. It's been out west for a long time. They're selling CNG in Utah for 86 cents a gallon, okay? So, but they just overloaded with it out there. And they got a different deal that they're doing. So I can take, if you see me riding around in that little Honda that's all striped up, I drove that to Duck Key, which is just 60 miles this side of Key West, and come back on 40 gallons of CNG. And it made 51 miles to the gallon. And I had to go and search the spots. I had to fill up at Tallahassee, fill up at Tampa, and then Pompano Beach. Then had no problem going to the Key West and come back, and then come back the same route. That was 2,042 miles on 40 gallons of fuel. So that's how economic the compressed natural gas is. And without the utilities assistance in backing and help, the city would not have been able to convert the majority of its fleet that we're doing right now. So right now, probably when the 4 SROs get their vehicles, we'll have right at 50 vehicles within our fleet, besides the vehicles that the utilities have. So my hat's off to the utilities for developing a new market, and I'm all for helping them expand that market, even as far as Duck Key. So, but yeah, you need to keep that in mind. That is the fuel of the future. You don't have to worry about your batteries having to do something with them at the landfill. But it's a clean fuel, and it saves the environment. So I'm going to open up the questions, because I just keep on and tell you a bunch of stuff. But if somebody's got a question about the dig going on back here, I'm going to direct that to the University of Alabama. Not really. Any questions that you got, if I can answer them, I will. If I can't, I'll tell you why I've been muzzled and I can't talk about it. So, any questions about anything happening in Trussville that you'd like to know? Anything going on? Yes, ma'am.
For those who may not have heard, could you update us on the Civitan Park project?
Civitan Park project. That's been a very difficult project for the city. I have taken thousands of phone calls and emails, and so has the council. We were able to get Mr. Cooper, the ALDOT director, Director of Transportation, to see the benefit of terminating this project with this particular contractor so we could regroup and go through an emergency process and select another contractor. Had we not done that, had he not helped us with that, I would be standing here today telling you that the existing contractor was in default, and we're going through some legal maneuverings to try to cash in on his bond. Okay, and we got some insurance people in here. They know I'm learning about bonds. Is that once you turn that in, then it's probably 6 or 8 months before they decide who they're going to get to finish the project. So we've actually expedited the project because this time next year we were looking to still be there at that project. So what you're seeing is once the contractor that had the contract had been terminated, then the city took control of its property back in the condition that he left it. So that's the reason you're seeing the temporary construction fence go up around that AlDOT project in order to protect the city of Trussville and protect our residents who might want to wander off there and walk what trails are there and keep the kids from falling in a hole or falling on some busted pipe or something. So that's a requirement that we have to do because the insurance company is to not be negligent in knowing something is subject to harm somebody. So you're going to see gates finally installed. They'll be locked. They'll have signs up every 100 or so feet that explains that this project temporarily is in a construction phase, and it's got AlDOT's project number on it, and hopefully, and we got news people in here, don't quote me on this. I'm moving, and AlDOT's trying to help and move to get I guess you'd call it another type of emergency to get the parking lot around the monument completed, along with the work to be done landscape-wise around the monument. I'm hoping to get that underway between now and the fall. If we get that done, then I can move the construction fence back to the outside edge of that parking lot area and open that up to the public so we can come and enjoy that beautiful monument that's there. So I'm hoping to get that done this coming fall and hope that this time, next year in the spring, that we're well underway with completing the project. So that's about the most I can explain how we got to where we got. We started this process in 1997 or 98. And I'm hoping we don't go through another one of these issues. But the people at AlDOT today and Mr. Cooper have been extremely supportive in trying to help us get this thing done and get it over with. And it will look outstanding when we get it completed. We just got to push it right on through to get it completed. Anybody else got a question? I can't believe it. Yes, sir.
I'd like to say one thing. We're into CNG, this vehicular traffic. We sold our liquefied natural gas system to an arm of Atlanta Gas Light, and they pumped in about $12 million in that, upgrading it for freight line traffic on these long hauls, and they're buying the gas from us to do the liquefaction.
Correct.
So this thing is sort of
Economic development. Great.
When the transportation is paying off.
And one of the ATRIB projects that we got associated with that economic development that they were able to pull off with Atlanta Gas Light for the city and for Trussville Utilities is that we're trying to get the road improved from Dollar Road to 78. And we met with AlDOT people in the county. The county has to sponsor that, which they are, and they're taking the lead on that. And we've got me and Wayne Sullivan. Now, I don't know if anybody here know Wayne Sullivan just by that name? Okay. Wayne Sullivan retired from Jefferson County, and I can't blame him. I mean, he was the director of roads and transportation for Jefferson County, and the man is just he's got the contacts. He's an engineer. He's a PE, and I finally talked him into. I said, "You need to get out of all this stress and come to Mayberry." And so he has come to Mayberry, and you're going to see more and more our infrastructure projects being implemented, and he is super. He's taken the lead for us, which I was glad the timing was such that he can talk the jargon with the AlDOT people and all the other engineers in trying to pursue these A-trips that the governor, we really appreciate the governor. Of all this money that he handed out, he gave us a couple of A-trail projects, which includes redoing this road in front of the Civic Center, put 2 traffic lights out here, complete Leslie Parkway connection. Then we also have an A-trail project where we're going to light Deerfoot Interchange, and we're going to light the interstate to North Chalkville Road, where the state's going to pick up to the MPO to light it from there to 459. So you're not going to be in the dark anymore from Deerfoot on down. And we hope to go, we're shooting for a December letting on that particular project. So that means that's probably when it go out for bid. Hopefully this time next year it'll be complete. So, and the project on Floorgrapher Road, that's an economic investment not only for Trussville, but for the city of Leeds, the city of Irondale, and Jefferson County. So that's a big plus, and I really, my hat's off to Utilities Board. They've been the backbone of the city since the city was formed, and they have been for the city, ready to help the city every step of the way. So they're one of the key reasons that our community is the way it is today. Okay, everybody knows that we're doing a dig back here in the back, University of Alabama. We got our kids from the high school involved in it so they can understand their history, as I read in the paper this morning. Where they came from, I just don't know if we came from 3,000 years ago on the banks of this Colorado River, but it could have. So that's moving, but that's got us slowed down. And we're trying to juggle, the city is with the school board. How do we get the stadium, get the bridge, and get the road, all of it come together and get it built within the next 18 months, okay? And our I guess target date is moving on us every time we have a hiccup. So the Corps of Engineers is helping us try to work us through that. And I think within probably 45 days or longer, hopefully we should be able to be into a certain part of the construction for this project. And keep in mind, we got the stadium in the project area. We're going to keep it safe, keep it operational until which time we get this stadium completed so we can transfer. We're not going to tear down that stadium and not have one until we complete the other project. You're reading about community schools. They're trying to plan for the future, and the city, as we go down the road, you've read the paper, she is, I guess you'd call it, exploring along with the city different revenue streams or funding mechanism to help that in the future. Right now, the focus is on the bridge, the road, and the stadium because we got all the engineering, we got everything done to make that happen. right now as soon as we can get the University of Alabama out of the Copper River. So, any questions about anything else? Yes, sir.
I asked this for selfish reasons, but did the city make any investment on that road that goes out the backside of Carrington?
We made a, what you call a $150,000 investment in a piece of property, okay? That was the mechanism by which, from a legality standpoint, we were able to help facilitate getting that road built today versus building it later down the road. So we got 5 acres on Blackjack for police and fire training whenever we decide to go out there and make that use of that. If you live in Carrington, you had the chance to go through there, that's a beautiful road. They did an outstanding job. Gate opens in the back. We're having to work through a little issues with the railroad. I think the other night we had something happen that we didn't expect, and that was from like 11:30, 12 o'clock at night. They kept the crossing blocked till 5 o'clock the next morning. So public safety's been all over that, police and fire, to make sure that we can provide the services we need to provide in that area once that train breaks down or blocks that. We got Fire Station 2, we got other officers and other beats, and they have the ability to go through the back gate. And people in Carrington, when they're blocked in, once that crossing is blocked, then the guard opens the gate to let them come through Carrington Lakes. And there's an automatic gate as you go out on Blackjack that will let you out. So I think we got all that worked out, which is good for the entire community around Carrington Lakes.
The good news is it's a beautiful road. The bad news is you'd never use it unless you were blocked in, because once you get to the end of it, you're nowhere.
We just gotta have that GPS so you can figure out how to get it.
And
Yes,
I'd like to
sir.
say the county had nothing to do with blocking that road.
I can rest assured, I can tell you unequivocally, Jefferson County had nothing to do with blocking that road. I think. All right, any other questions about anything? I really appreciate it. Yes, ma'am.
What about Green Drive?
Green Drive. I tried to just slide by and not say anything. Green Drive, we were real fortunate in Green Drive that we didn't have somebody get hurt. Okay? If you recall that heavy deluge of water we got that backed up on the Copper River and flooded, okay? The day before, we were investigating what the power company called and said there was a depression in Green Drive. We got the county roads and transportation to come out with their engineers and crawl in the pipe and make an assessment. With their assessment, we closed Green Drive that day. That was a Friday afternoon. Saturday morning, or early Saturday morning, we got that deluge of rain, and it topped that Green Drive where that culvert is. And you got to imagine, there's 6 72-inch pipes just stacked side by side, and the ones in the middle is the ones that were depressed, that actually rusted out and was caving in, which the county actually built. It was your road.
It was your engineer that you got now that did it.
So we're doing the right thing. The council allowed me to hire an engineer to actually go out there and evaluate this, and then we was able to hire Wayne Sullivan. And he's given direction on that. Hopefully by Friday, we should have the engineering plans completed. ALDOT, in order to use their design for that replacement, for that culvert, we have to get permission from them to use it. So I was able to work that out this morning over email to get that done. So the answer to your question is that, as the paper stated this morning, it's not going to be opened by school. Okay? This project is going to be more than $50,000. When we get the project put together, engineering-wise, so we can put it out for bid, it could be in the neighborhood of $400,000 to $450,000 or $500,000. That's how severe that is. But that is a main connection for our schools, the civic center, the city. You just don't realize till you close a road, people don't, how much they depend on a connection. I can tell you because I got all those phone calls. And I'm sure the council did too. So we're moving as fast as we can to get that road repaired and back open. And we're real fortunate that during the middle of the night, somebody did drive across there and fall in and we get somebody hurt. So that's the reason we had to close it. And as soon as we get it open, we're going to open. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
As soon as my wife found out that you were going to be speaking today, she texted me and wanted to make sure to ask, are there any additional restaurants that might be coming up to the out parcels of the Pinnacle?
Oh, God. I know that there's several, probably more than 3 different types of restaurants, but I don't know that they're coming to the Pinnacle or up on the upper part. We have engineered, we're trying to open Valley up to the Pinnacle, and I'm working with Colonial now on that connection, which will have a traffic light. We got it engineered. I can't tell you the names of the restaurants. I know we got, not only in the area around US 11, we got people looking in the downtown area because of our redevelopment plans that we have for revitalizing downtown. So you also read in that paper that I saw this morning that we're extremely close to signing the agreement with a grocery and a fitness center for the space that we lease where Food World was. So about to turn that from a red to a black. Okay? Yes, sir.
Any plans on the disc golf course over there around the senior center, Civic Park area, that kind of thing?
Well, I can tell you, I don't foresee the disc golf coming back to the Cahaba River.
Really?
We made arrangements to allow the disc golf to open back up in the sports complex up there, which I think is great.
Sure.
But once we complete this greenways, and that's another thing council's going to hear to this afternoon for the workshop, is part of making this project here work, we have to mitigate the fact that we're going to put this stream in a box culvert. Part of that mitigation is restoring the Cahaba River from US 11 up to Cherokee Bridge. And that's going to require a $600,000 bond in place of us going and buying $1 million worth of credit. Okay? So the Corps and ADM is working with us closely to try to have a win-win deal, because without that, we'd have to go somewhere else and find a place to mitigate what we're taking away here as far as what they call blue line.
Right.
So since we need to do something with all the silt and all the scouring we have along the Cahaba River, then it only made sense that we make that investment in our park and in our city, since it's required to be made somewhere.
Of course.
And so we save that money from going and buying somebody else's points.
Yeah.
We develop our own.
Yeah.
Any other questions? All right, guys, I really appreciate y'all having me. I'll be back, next year, same time. Thank you.